All right, up into standing. Just turn this off and then we'll get nicely warmed up. Okay, find your feet. Find your hip width, stance, nice grounding through the feet. Feel the mat. If you've got bare feet, it might be a little bit better, but let's just try and feel particularly either borders of the heels, all 5 toes, and then a little space underneath the arches of your feet if you can create that. So just a little, enough space there for a little blueberry. Letting someone in. That didn't work. Soften your knees. That's it. Just make sure your hips are nice and open. Lengthen through your low back. Just starting to magnet your tailbone down to the mat. But without clenching, tightening your glutes. Instead, just think about that tension, if anything, being here at the front. And we'll grow tall through the rest of the spine now. Crown of the head floating towards the ceiling. Oh, there's more. We're going to start with our walking, which means coming up onto tiptoes first. So if you can find your balance in tiptoes, good. Openness through the shoulders, space between the shoulders and the ears. And then start lowering one heel at a time. So from tiptoes, one heel lowers. The pelvis going down and up, nice and level. Good, then you can bring the arms in. Alternate arms. If you can, the opposite one to the one that's bending. Don't worry too much about that. Let's take it a little bit quicker, as long as you can maintain your form there, of going straight up and down, just to get some good blood flow. A little bit of a warm up. Try and keep the shoulders nice and open and settled. Try and keep the back of the neck long. But particularly make sure that the pelvis doesn't shift from side to side. Try and bend at the hips, the pelvis goes up and down. Good. Start slowing again. Having that little pause at the top where you switch. Good. Nice and slow. Finishing when you do on tiptoes so that you can just control lower. And we'll take it up into our corkscrew. So just start with the arms, give your calf muscles a rest, bring the arms up and over. Lovely, hands behind your head, elbows out nice and wide. Shrug your shoulders up and then slide them down away from your ears. Fingertips to the ceiling and come all the way down. And again, fingertips up, hands down, shrug up and slide down. Lovely. Okay, can we add the tiptoes? You come up. As you bring your hands to your head, lower your heels. As you shrug up, lift them again. Slide and lower them. Good, up. And all the way down. One more. Lovely, shrugging up, sliding down. One more reach, and then come down. All right, give those shoulders a little roll back. Backward direction, full rotations. Feeling the shoulder blades moving around over the back of your rib cage. And then finish with them settle back and down. And we'll take it from here into some roll downs. So a breath in. And as you let your breath out, take your chin onto your chest. Peel your way down, as if you're peeling each vertebrae away from the wall behind you. Work your way down that spine.
The knees are soft, you're deeply bending through the low back as well now. For a breath in, use your out breath to peel back up. Rebuilding, restacking each vertebrae.
Lovely. Keep going for a couple more. Use the opportunity to explore the range of movement in your back. Feel for any areas of stiffness.
Try and work segmentally through those areas as well. Just as much on the rebuild as when you were peeling down.
One more complete movement. All the way back up. And then when you are ready, come on down to your mats. Make sure you've got handy your head support, maybe some weights if you want to use them, something small. And a larger cushion as well, if you've got one that you could use for when we come to our arm openings. If we do that. Yeah, we will. Okay, when you're ready then, looking for a really good rest position here with neutral spine. We're going to start with hundreds. So coming into waking up, focusing in on our core control. Arms alongside. Just feel for your shoulder blades behind your upper back. So get that with the shoulders nice and open through their fronts. Lengthen the back of the neck so it's slid up your head support. And make sure you're in that belly button and pubic bone level position with your little space that you're going to maintain. Starting with bringing one leg or both legs up into tabletop. Good. And then when you hover your arms, if you think you want to have weights in your hands, then you can pop them either side of you as well to add some load. But from this position, before you add that arm hover, just make sure that you have your low tummy really engaged and flat before you out breath your arms to hover up the side and start pulsing. Okay, so you're pulsing from the shoulder joints, the arms stay straight. So you might have both legs up like I have, or you might keep one down on the mat. That's up to you. But if you have one still down on the mat, try and switch. I'll try and remember to remind you. If this feels like you could add more to it, then you can draw your head and shoulders up off the mat. So you're shortening that space between pelvis and ribs at the front there, contracting into those more superficial abdominal muscles as well. Holding forward, keeping the low tummy flat, looking between your thighs, keep pulsing. So if you've got one leg up, take it down and bring the other one up instead. But keep those arms going, always maintaining neutral spine. Don't let that space shut down behind your back. Keep going, keep breathing as well. Up the nose, open the side ribs, then gently blow it out your mouth. Last few. Okay, you're done. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and rest. All the way down. Lovely. Back into neutral, arms alongside, nice and light on the mat. And we'll come straight into our scissors. So out breathing a leg up, in breathing back down. Alternating sides. Okay, just be mindful to make it all a hip movement. Never tipping back into that low back space. And trying to keep the knee angle at 90. So you're not bending the knee to find the mat. If you want to hover your arms alongside, you can, but that makes it more challenging, taking the support away from the mat. But we will work up through some levels for those who want to. Just doing this at level 1 to start. Good. Okay, so rest your arms when you take your legs into tabletop to do level 2. From here, start working down from the top. In breath back. Out breath down. In breath back. Keep the hands lightly resting on the mat, or you can, if you want to, hover them. Remember to work where's right for you. Keep the work in your control center down here, deep below your belly button. Flat at that level, your tummy doesn't pop up. Good, last couple. Before we change it again, I'm going to keep changing things nice and swiftly between the different exercises. 1 to each leg. And then one at a time, bring them down. Good. Check in again, make sure you're neutral. And then you can start sliding a heel away. Out breath away. In breath back. Good, alternating sides. So this time we're using all the movement in the hip joint to open it out. Yeah, being really mindful of how tight that can get at the front of the hip. You do a lot of sitting. So get as much as you can, as much stretch as you can from it. Just being careful not to compensate by letting your back be pulled away from the mat. Keep the pelvic floor leading your way with this conscious contraction in your center. Okay, one more. And then what we'll do is combine scissors and this movement to give us our 1 leg stretch, level 2. So we're going to float a leg up like scissors, pause with it there, and then out breath it away for a push. In and down. Good. Other side, move on your out breath. So it does mean having pauses to breathe in. So your out breath away. In breath back and down. Again, pause so you get to out breath the other side up. Push away. In and down. Don't forget your arm hover if you're wanting to add to this. Still think about where you're sending that breath to. So if by hovering your arms up, it sort of causes your ribs to splint, so you can't take a nice deep breath out into them, then just rest the arms back down. You want to be able to get lovely expansion and use all the ribs, all of the lung space. Good, last couple, 1 to each leg. And then rest. Okay, we won't do level 3, 1 leg stretch. We're going to do that without a double leg stretch. So let's bring the arms in now for double leg stretch. Out breath them up to point to the ceiling, or if you're using weights, then lift those weights up to point towards the ceiling. Breath in. Arms only to start with. Slow lower overhead. In, breath up. This might be the biggest stretch your shoulders have had for a little while, so go easy. Try and focus in on shoulder movement, making sure it is all at the shoulders. Ribs are connected. You might be getting a little bit of an upper back stretch as well, but try and make sure that you don't flare the ribs up. Keep them resting back on the mat. And then when you're ready, start joining with a foot, sliding away. Lovely stretch through the whole of the front of the body, maintaining neutral spine. Good, 1 leg, both arms.
And this one we will bring up into tabletop if you want to, or keep working here. But after this one, you can bring the feet up one at a time. Find good strong tabletop with those 90 degrees at the hips and knees. Strong flat low tummy. Have a couple of reps with the arms only, keeping the legs lovely and still. Everything below the shoulders stays lovely and still. The ribs are, the pelvis is, and the hips and knees are too. And then when you're ready, start pushing away with one foot. So if the weights become too much of a load there, just put them down. If you can keep working with them, it will really load up your center, your strength in your core. Remember, sending the legs more parallel to the mat will be more challenging. If you want that, then just push away lower. You'll feel it immediately. Keep going if you can, rest when you need to, or slide on the mat instead if you need to. Let's keep going for a couple more though. And then rest down. Okay, both feet to the mat. Recenter. And we'll do some hip twist. Level 1, so just allowing one knee to drop out to the side. If you really want to bring it up into tabletop and do your level 3, you can. But make sure that your focus is on control. It's on differentiating that hip rotation there, allowing the knees to drop out with the control through the pelvis, keeping the hip bones pointing straight up at the ceiling. And sometimes it's good to come back to level 1 because it is a more challenging exercise or series of exercises. If you want to, you know you've got this one here to work on the legs up in free space. But after this and before we finish on our backs, we'll do some level 2s for our back rotation range as well. A little moment. Otherwise, keep going. Remember to keep the arms light, shoulders nice and open. Just relax through the whole upper body. So all the tension and effort is down in your center. Last one to each side. Okay. Bring the feet back down. Bring them down so they're next to each other, touching. The ankles are touching, knees are touching. And bring your arms out to the sides. And we'll just do some rotations through the whole spine. So out-breathing the legs over to one side. One foot hopping on top of the other. So the weight of the legs pulls you into a twist. You can look towards your opposite hand. Have your breath there. And then out-breath back again. So try using your out-breath for the movement. It supports your movement, but also when you get into the stretch, you can breathe in to deepen the stretch. Good, keep going in your own time, couple more. Good, back up. All right, just to come onto our sides. And we'll start with side kick today, just because it does tire the hip. So if we start with it, there's no excuses. So you can work with both legs out straight for side kick, but that's pretty advanced. If you want to need to get a little bend on your lower leg, just put as much as you need, and then take the top leg out straight to hip height. All right, that's our start position, and we're going to out breath forward from here. So sliding the leg forward and then sliding it back. Okay, I think we did these last week. We're working on the hip hinge. And hopefully you're starting to get a little bit more straightening through the lower hip. Putting the hand down if you need to, this top one, but keeping it light. Focusing in on your hip joint movement. So as you come back, you're opening it and stretching it without arching your low back. Again, just being really conscious of what's hip and what's back and pelvis. So pointing the toes on the way forward, like you're drawing a line with them, and then flex, so your heel draws you back towards the wall behind. It helps your glutes just fire up there. And your tummy, really working hard when the leg comes forward to make sure that you don't topple. Good, after this, just one more. And back. And rest down. Lovely. Now, if you've been working on your clam level 3 or you feel ready to, now you just switch. So the lower leg becomes straight and your top leg becomes your bent leg. And we'll use that cushion in front there to rest the knee on. Okay, if you're going to stick with levels 1 or 2, then you know what to do. Get into position with both knees bent. Otherwise, we're going to try and work here, level 3. Long waist, center engaged, ready to out breath the knee up. In breath down. Controlling it down. Right, that's where you really start working hard to not drop the knee when you're lying on this straight lower leg. Continue to focus in on making sure you don't roll back to get that knee up. So keep the top hip forward. Keep the work focused on coming into behind the hip, into your glutes, into your back pocket. Keep going if you can, or if you need to. If you had enough of that, you can finish up here at level 2. Both knees bent. Yeah, we're trying to challenge, trying to progress. Last couple of either version. One more. And then rest. Okay, now you can bend both knees up. Have a switch around. Give yourself your head support, your bigger head support, and your arms out in front. With a weight, if you want to, you can use that in the top hand. Good, focusing on upper body, upper back, movement, lifting up and over. Right, keep that top hip forward. Start dropping your back ribs back. Breathe in and stretch. And then out breathing it over again. So just like before, breathing out while you move. Breathing in while you stretch. And as you breathe out, come back, your centre's engaged. Just supporting you and strengthening during the movement. Good, we'll do one more. And rest there. And then we'll actually stay on our mat. We're going to come back onto our backs to do some shoulder bridge before we do our hips on the other side. So, back on your back, heels up towards your bottom, hoping to switch the hamstrings off and get the glutes firing. Check you're resting on your shoulder blades. Arms can rest with the palms up so they stay nice and light on the mat. We'll come into our first bridge, out breathing to tip back, contacting your low back and then peeling it up and away from the mat. Breathe in at the top. Breath, peel back down. Good. Keep working there if that's what you want to work on, your spinal movement and your glute activation. But if you want to work that harder, that glute activation, then stay up there so that we can work on the one leg bridge. One at a time. Out, back in, replace your spine. So there's an out breath to get into the position. Have a breath in to hold it so you can out breath into that one leg. If you do come in and out every repetition, you'll get more opportunity to work your back, mobilize the spine. But if you do want to stay up in your shoulder bridge, of course, you're working on more endurance in the glutes there, alternating sides. So your choice. Or even if you want to, take it to the next level. Once you're out in your one leg bridge, you can work on some dynamic hamstring stretches there, just coming up and down with the straight leg. As long as you can keep these hips up. Give that a go to both sides if you're trying it. Good. Make these your last ones. And then replace your back to the mat. Okay, let's give the knees a hug in. Give the back a nice stretch. And then we're going to come back to our sides, but work obviously on the other side now. So a little push up and over. Bring your cushions that you need, your weight maybe. Position for side kick first. Little bend on that lower leg. Nice and long through the waist. Top leg up to hip height. And then out breath it forward. Remember your shoulder. Try not to let the upper body join in by that tension creeping in and the shoulder creeping up. Keep it lovely and open. After this, 2 more. That top hip staying pointing straight up at the ceiling. And then rest the leg down. All right, and if we're challenging ourselves for level 3 clown, then squats with the lower legs out straight now, top leg bent. The knee really might need something to rest on so that the muscle gets to switch off between reps. When you're ready. Maintain that little gap underneath the waist. Little beam of light could be shone under there. Good, after this one, just 2 more, if you can. And rest it down, good. All right, both knees bend then. Restack the hips, lock in this really good position in the low body. Change your upper body position. Weight in the hand if you want to use one. Start whenever you're ready. Lovely, just the one more. Look after that shoulder, especially if there's a weight in it. Don't let it overstretch. The centre of your chest up. That's your stretch. Super. All right, we're coming onto our tummies. And for swimming with the arms up overhead, if you want to use your weights again, then you can, especially you need to be using something fairly small, definitely nothing more than 1 kilo. But we'll start with arms overhead with that length, crown of head to tailbone, supported by your pelvic floor being engaged. And also just make sure your shoulder tops, you draw them away from your ears. Then when you're ready, on and out breath, hover one arm up. In breath it back down. And we'll alternate. The work through the lower body is just the pelvic floor being engaged, supporting you in that tailbone tucked position, while you focus on keeping your body aligned, not rolling from side to side when you lift the arms, one at a time. Just one more. All right, we'll give the arms a break. Rest your head on your hands if you want to, just so we can take it for some more glute work. So try and prepare your glutes now with a really good squeeze. You need your legs to not be wider than hip width apart, so bring them in if you need to, in order to get that really good squeeze through the glutes. Try it on an out breath. Squeeze and hold, and then relax. We're just really trying to wake them up if they weren't already awake. Squeeze, hold, and then relax. All right, now we're going to bring it to the actual lift from the hip. So you will be squeezing on the side that you're lifting on to get that front of thigh up and then down. Out breath, up with the whole leg, the whole weight of the straight leg if you can, and then down. Keeping the low back long. Good, last couple. And of course, we're going to combine the two. And so we'll combine it and take it to a slower lift and lower. Rest your legs just for a moment. Bring your arms back into play. And we're going to lift the arm and opposite leg. Hold to breathe in. And then lower down. Keep the forehead resting, keep the back of the neck long. Out breath, arm and opposite leg. And when you breathe in, really send that breath into the lower ribs. And as you let it out, lower back down. Last one here. And then rest. All right. So once again, just rest your head on your hands. Now the lower body is going to stay relaxed. So just check it's in good position. So we'll work on swan dive. Work on strengthening into some extension in your upper back. Shoulders away from your ears. Breath in to prepare. And then out breath your forehead up off your hands. So at least a couple here at level 1. Making sure what's working in your lower body. Again, it's your pelvic floor, your upper body. The extension is coming from your shoulder blade area of your back. You're breathing in to hold and then lower. And then if you want to start adding to it, of course, you can start adding the arms to hover as well. The whole upper body hovers up off the mat. Careful not to lift up through the legs as well. Keep them resting down. Don't clench through your glutes. Try and keep them soft. Keeping your shoulders away from your ears as well. So you don't overwork your upper traps. Couple more. Last one. And rest down. Okay, have a push back. Send your bottom back to your heels. Give yourself nice width between your knees so that you can lower your chest down, slide your fingertips away. Again, just stretch into your upper back before you rest your head.
Okay, push up enough that you can get your knees together again. And once your knees are together again, you can lower yourself, but this time we'll just take the hands around to one side. Giving the side of your waist and your rib cage all a big stretch. And walk the hands the other way. Some nice deep breaths while you're there, side stretching. Okay, and then back to the center to push up. And have a little stretch of these hip flexors from kneeling. So if you come up onto your knees and take a step forward. Lovely. With length in your low back, have a slide in. Open up the front of the hip. Good. And then have a push back again. This time all the way back to straighten that front leg. Straighten but don't lock it. So you can have a fold forward over it. Hamstring stretch. That's it. Rest your hands down if they'll reach. So that you can just try and relax into it. Lovely. Let that front knee bend. Push you back. So you can switch over. Stretch into it first. And then push you back. Have a fold forward. Good. Let it bend. Push you back. This time just into sitting. We'll finish in sitting today with a glute stretch. So with one leg, if you can, drawn in. Oh, position that very well. One heel, if you can, drawn in to your groin. Then you've got that choice. If you want to use that side, you can bring it over to stretch. Or if you've got the space in your hips, take this straight one instead and bring it over. So you end up curled or coiled all together. Good. Get up nice and straight before you add to this stretch now. Try and make sure both sitting bones are down on the mat. So if that heel's in the way, wiggle it out of the way. And then you can wrap an arm around to hug it in a little bit and over press if you want to. And then release. Good. So same other side. Whichever version you did, you need to do that same version on this side to make sure you stretch the opposite leg. Same thing, have a little wriggle, get your bottom down, get your height, and then you can overpress it. Lovely. And release it. Good. You're all done. I'll stop that. Just there. That